I'll be absolutely honest, I'm going through a wee bit of an identity crisis. For the past 6 years, I've been Derrick Bruce, Scottish Government, and I kind of knew where I stood. And now I'm Derrick Bruce, Education Scotland, because I'm part of the brand new brave world of Education Scotland, which has brought together HMIE, LTS, the National CPD team and a positive behaviour team. So I'm kind of going through this process of change and trying to make sense of it all, but I'm getting there. Things are starting to make sense, and I think it does. It's this bit about bringing together support and challenge. I'm quite proud of the title, Transforming Lives Through Learning, because I suppose in a way I think that's what we're all about today, transforming lives of our children. I think that's so important, and I think today we are trying to make sense of how it all comes together. Education Scotland has a direct role in delivering and supporting curriculum for excellence. In many ways, that's our core business. So that's really what I'm going to talk with you about this morning or this afternoon, but a wee bit more too. I'll run through this fairly quickly. There's a lot of information here. I'll be moving in and out. So again, you want to stop me any time, stop me, and I'll try and make sense of it all. So these are the aims of this session today. Curriculum for excellence, making the links with health and wellbeing, referring to the Act of 2007, Health Promotion Act. Scottish Government, Education Scotland, where are we? And it is the responsibility of all, and there's something quite significant about that. Health and well-being, all our responsibility. What does that mean within the education world? That's quite an important concept and something we'll touch on briefly this afternoon. We're going to look at culture. If I had an hour, 2 hours, I would spend quite a lot of time in looking at the culture, because to me, that's so important. Jane reflected on ethos and culture, and again, I think that's absolutely crucial. How we do things, how our youngsters experience education, what do they feel about going to school, what does school mean for them, what does education mean for them? That bit at the very heart of learning, underpinning the whole process, and I think that's crucial, and I'll show you some work we're involved in this morning. Talk about what we're doing with regard to supporting schools in the process. And we're talking about, very quickly, where are we now? Where are we going to? An awful lot of words in there, but basically we're trying to make sense of, there's still this notion about, abroad in some schools, in some education circles, well really, what's that got to do with me? It's got everything to do with you. The well-being of our children is all our business. So that, the top part, really highlights that. Development, and it's to do with every teacher. Clearly it's to do with teachers, parents, partners, and again, I think that's why we're here this morning. And again, just to highlight this notion, because we've all been at school and we all had notions of what was really significant, literacy, numeracy, and so on. I think this is really quite powerful. In Curriculum for Excellence, we have 3 equal pillars. 3 equal pillars. Health and well-being is one of them. Now that is really quite a significant step. In fact, I would put health and well-being at the far side, because H alphabetically comes before the others and it makes sense. Of equal importance. And I think perhaps traditional thinking was a bit more like that. Yeah, counting, English, literacy, numeracy, they're all important. And yeah, there's something, health and well-being, kind of guidance staff, that's their job. Pastoral staff, yeah, that's their job. It's all our job, it's all our work. I was doing some work recently. I was telling my colleague from Respect Me, I was doing some work with Glasgow City Council probationers. I've been involved with them for the past 4 days. And they thought that the model would be far better looking a bit like this. Health and well-being at the very base of all we do. And I thought, made some sense. So I thought I'd share that with you this morning. Curriculum for Excellence makes this clear. Development of relationships. I spoke quite recently at a seminar about relationships. In fact, it was Learning Festival. I was doing a wee bit, I get all the good gigs. So I was speaking at Learning Festival, and someone said, Derek, after that, you spoke for an hour, used the word relationships 48 times. I said, no apologies. 58, 68, 108, that's what our work's about. That's what all our work is about, I think. How we develop our relationships with our children, how we develop how they do things in school, and how positive they feel about that experience. Some of the health indicators, my task was really to make those links, and clearly I think those links are there. Something here about the readiness for school. We've heard already about the significance of early years, and that is so important. Getting things right at an early stage is absolutely critical. Also, I think there's something here about not just readiness for school, readiness of schools. How ready are schools to continue to develop as inclusive organisations? There are 3 core features to that: leadership, curriculum agility, You'll give the curriculum, making things a bit more personal. And staff attitudes and approaches. Staff attitudes and approaches. How we do things, how we value our children in the education experience. Respectful relationships. We have a document, Building Curriculum for Excellence through Positive Relationships and Behaviour. Building Curriculum for Excellence, relationships. It's what it's about, it's what we're trying to achieve. And also this commitment to anti-bullying, promoting positive behaviour. Got my colleague Brian from Respect Me this morning. We have this piece of guidance going into every school, Brian, every school in Scotland. Brian's from Respect Me. There's a steering group drives the Work Forward Anti-Bullying Network of Scotland, includes Respect Me, SAMH, voluntary organisations, health, education, Scottish Government, COSLA, the full range. That's what we're trying to achieve in all our schools. That's going into every school in Scotland. A real commitment to that. The big bit I'm going to focus on this morning is ethos and culture of the schools and how that helps us promote the mental well-being of all our children and young people. Ethos at the very base. And these are the experience and outcomes that I think are fairly relevant and are linked directly with those. So all I'm wanting to do today is to try to make those links clear. Curriculum for Excellence has a core element in relation to mental well-being, and that's how it ties together. And again, I would highlight the links with what we are doing and the My Word Triangle. All those things tie together. There is a coherence, I'm proud to say, a coherence is emerging. I mentioned culture already, and I'm going to highlight that. Looks a wee bit complex, but it's really quite important. I would think that what we've done in education for quite a while is have a very high focus on the curriculum, these top parts of the triangle. The curriculum. Let's get the curriculum in place and things will work out really well. Let's make sure we support Curriculum for Excellence and things will work out really well. What I do think is really important is that we have a focus on the bits down below. Leadership, culture and values. How do we deliver Curriculum for Excellence? We need the culture of the school to be positive. We need our youngsters' experiences to be positive. We need our staff attitudes and approaches to be extremely positive and working with children and young people, even in challenging circumstances, to help deliver Curriculum for Excellence. That bit down there, culture and values. A solid base for the emotional, mental health and well-being of all our children. And I think that's what we're really trying to focus on. Developing staff attitudes, skills, approaches, building this positive culture to try and encourage mental and emotional well-being of all our children. So, in relation to support for schools, we have the government, we have Education Scotland, we have local authorities, all committed to this process of transformation, this process of change for children, of improving life chances for children and young people, reflecting on some of the stuff Tam spoke about earlier on this morning. We have a range of policy teams sitting within Scottish Government, Support and Wellbeing Unit, Early Years, Getting It Right, all with direct links with Curriculum for Excellence. We have Education Scotland, the new agency, which involves now Learning and Teaching Scotland. We have a health and wellbeing team as part of that, and a health and wellbeing team, I know, are taking forward, are planning a couple of events over the next few weeks round about responsibility of all. The health and wellbeing being responsibility of all, and I think some of my colleagues may be here this morning. Supporting Learners team, my own team, HMIE, CPD, all making this commitment. A commitment. There's strands of work going on just now within Education Scotland round about mental and emotional well-being, strands of work that we're directly involved in trying to promote. And the big thing for us is it really has to be done in collaboration. I think we can do quite a lot within education. We certainly can't do it all, and I don't think any of us can do it all. We really need to work together in this notion of collaborative advantage. I really think that's something that we should be committed to, signed up for, and continue to build towards. We'll have guidance from local authorities to support the process, and we'll have a programme that we've developed following advice from the government that they felt that the emotional well-being of staff working with children within children's services and education was crucial. How can we best take forward the work with our children and young people? We need to be feeling emotionally strong and resilient ourselves. We have a programme that's now currently being taken forward across Scotland in the local authorities. A lot of words in there. I suppose in a way it does reflect on where I'm just now. I'm very proud of Curriculum for Excellence because it gives us an opportunity. I think an opportunity, the best opportunity in a generation to actually make real change in the lives of children by working together, because curriculum for excellence, including the indicators round about mental health and well-being, are best delivered in partnership. This is about building in the culture and the philosophy and our assets. This is about relationships being central to how we do things. And health and well-being is at the heart of that curriculum, not a lesser partner, not something that's second thought, second guessed, and you go, we'll do that now. This is how we all are doing things or are trying to work towards doing things. Collaborative. Personalising our youngsters' experiences. All our youngsters learn differently. They're all on a journey, they're all in different places. How do we do that? I mentioned already, yoga of the curriculum, bending, shaping, manipulating, trying to encourage all our children and young people to have positive learning experiences. Skills for learning, skills for life, as important as academic skills. And again, it's a dialogue that we'll have to continue to take forward. What does that mean in reality? And the big bit, and it's been reflected on again through various inputs this morning, achievement is broader and more personal than attainment. How do we measure that? How do we monitor that? How do we try and encourage all our youngsters to achieve to their best, to be all they can be? It's been a very quick, prompt trot through, but I think hopefully you got somewhere about where we're at in relation to experiences and outcomes, in relation to broader developments in education, children's services, in relation to working together. The curriculum. The curriculum is central. Curriculum for excellence is being a much broader curriculum than I've ever known, a much wider, a much more inclusive curriculum than has ever been brought about in Scotland before, where we focus on the well-being of children, where children are at the centre of learning, where relationships underpin the learning process. Culture, the culture of schools. What do we feel when we go in as partners, as health workers visiting schools? What do we feel as parents visiting schools? Are we included and engaged and involved in that process? Hearts and minds stuff, that culture, do they belong to us? Are our children, are adults working in schools, do they have that notion of bringing our children, of relating with children, of helping build the curriculum through how they work with children and young people? And I think we are all certainly committed to continuing this progress together. I think the attendance this morning shows that this is where we are. We are fully committed to improving life chances for all our children. And this bit also about collaboration, how we all work together to try and achieve those ends, because we can't do it separately. We need to be together. We need to have a common agenda. We need to be able to identify the principles that we're working towards and join up and sign up towards that. And finally, it's about long-term improvement. This isn't revolution, this is evolution. It's a process. How do we continue to make change? How do we continue with making those progressive developments we need? Consistency of approach. I would certainly say collaboration, I would add to, but who said this? Mr. Barr said this. Mr. Barr identified it. But what I would say about that is he keeps it a secret. He keeps his ingredients secret. But we know what works best. And what works best is probably events like today when we come together and start to share and build on that progress. So not only do we need long-term consistency, we need collaboration. We need working together. And we don't need to keep it a secret. We'll share it. We'll share it. Thank you for your time and thoughts. Thanks, folks.